A cold wind whips across the desolate coastline, biting even through the thick bars. The waves crash against the cliffs, a ceaseless roar that echoes the fury within. Pelican Bay State Prison. From the air, it's a sprawling concrete scar on the edge of the world, a monument to punishment and despair. Built in 1989, Pelican Bay houses California's most dangerous criminals, murderers, gang leaders, and those deemed too difficult to manage elsewhere. Its reputation precedes it, a brutal, unforgiving place where violence simmers just beneath the surface, always threatening to erupt. The statistics tell a chilling story. Countless stabbings, dozens of suicides, and an atmosphere of fear so thick you could cut it with a shiv. From the moment the steel gates slam shut, inmates are swallowed whole by the prison's oppressive atmosphere. The air itself feels heavy, laden with the weight of thousands of shattered lives. The most notorious feature of Pelican Bay, and the source of much controversy, is its security housing unit, or SHU. This is where the worst of the worst are sent. The incorrigibles, the gang leaders, the truly dangerous. The SHU is not just a place of confinement, it's a weapon, designed to break the will of even the hardest criminals. The cells are small, cramped, and devoid of any comfort. Natural light is a luxury. The only sounds are the clanging of metal doors and the muffled cries of the damned. In this concrete tomb, the line between sanity and madness blurs. The prison's history is littered with stories of violence, both inmate on inmate and guard on inmate. Riots have erupted within its walls, fueled by racial tensions, gang rivalries, and the sheer desperation of men pushed to their breaking point. The guards, often accused of brutality and abuse of power, operate with a detached efficiency that borders on the inhuman. One particularly gruesome incident involved two rival gang members, their hatred for each other festering for years behind bars. By the time the guards intervened, both men were lying in pools of their own blood, one dead, the other clinging to life. Such incidents are not isolated events. Isolation is a weapon, wielded with surgical precision by the prison authorities. It's a slow, torturous process, stripping away a man's identity piece by piece until all that's left is a hollow shell. Human contact is a rare and precious commodity, something to be craved, bargained for, and fought over. In this environment, even the smallest act of kindness can take on monumental significance. A shared cigarette, a whispered conversation through a ventilation shaft, a knowing glance across the yard. These become lifelines. But even these small acts of defiance are fraught with risk. To be seen as weak, to show vulnerability, is to invite exploitation and abuse. The prison grapevine is a powerful force within Pelican Bay's walls. News, rumors, and gossip travel with astonishing speed, carried on whispers and coded messages. Through this network of whispers, inmates learn of events in the outside world, of loved ones lost and families torn apart. The guards, clad in their khaki uniforms and armed with batons and pepper spray, are the undisputed rulers of this concrete jungle. A day in Pelican Bay begins with the clang of metal doors unlocking, a sound that echoes throughout the prison like a death knell. The inmates, many of whom have not left their cells for days, are herded like cattle into the exercise yard, a concrete enclosure open to the elements. Here, beneath the watchful eyes of armed guards, they are allowed a brief respite from the crushing boredom of solitary confinement. For some, this is a time for reflection, a chance to clear their heads and breathe in the fresh air. For others, it's an opportunity to socialize, to trade stories, and to reinforce the bonds of loyalty that sustain them in this God-forsaken place. But for many, the exercise yard is just another battleground, a place where old scores are settled and new ones are born. The food is barely edible, a bland and tasteless mush served in metal trays. But even this meager fare is a source of contention. Food is power in Pelican Bay, and those who control it wield considerable influence. Thefts are common, and a stolen meal can easily escalate into a violent confrontation. The days bleed into one another, an endless cycle of confinement, boredom, and violence. In the SU, silence is a weapon, used to crush the spirit and break the will. But even in this concrete tomb, the human need for connection finds a way. Inmates communicate through ventilation shafts, tapping out messages in code on the pipes. They pass notes, often written in a mixture of gang slang and street jargon. Some inmates even used Morse code through the plumbing in their cells. By manipulating the flow of water, they sent messages through the pipes. Guards eventually caught on and shut it down. But the inmates' determination to connect was a testament to the human spirit. Their stories are often brutal and disturbing, but they also show resilience, hope, and even love in adversity. For example, the story of two inmates who fell in love through the bars. Section 6. The hole within the hole. For the most incorrigible inmates, those who refuse to conform, even within the rigid confines of Pelican Bay, there is a fate even worse than the SU. It's a place called the Short Corridor, a row of 8 windowless cells known as the Tombs. This is solitary confinement on another level, a place of absolute sensory deprivation. The air is thick with the stench of despair. In the Short Corridor, the days and nights blur into one another, an endless cycle of darkness and silence. The inmates here are denied even the most basic human contact. They are fed through slots in their cell doors, their only glimpse of the outside world, a flickering fluorescent light in the hallway. The psychological toll of such isolation is unimaginable. Some men emerge from the Short Corridor broken, their minds shattered by the experience. Others, somehow, manage to retain their sanity, clinging to their humanity with a ferocity that defies explanation. But all who pass through its doors are forever changed. Section 7. Where Hope Goes to Die. The debate over Pelican Bay and its SHU rages on. Human rights advocates argue that the conditions within the prison constitute cruel and unusual punishment, violating the 8th Amendment of the United States Constitution. They point to the high rates of mental illness among inmates, the psychological damage inflicted by prolonged solitary confinement, and the lack of meaningful rehabilitation programs. Those who defend Pelican Bay argue that it is a necessary evil, a place to house the most dangerous criminals in society and keep them from harming others. They point to the prison's relatively low recidivism rates, arguing that the harsh conditions serve as a deterrent to future criminal behavior. The truth, as always, is more complex. There is no easy answer to the question of how to deal with violent criminals. But one thing is certain: the current system, with its emphasis on punishment over rehabilitation, is broken. A recent study by the American Civil Liberties Union found that prolonged solitary confinement can cause severe psychological harm. Section 8. A Stain on the Soul of Justice. The story of Pelican Bay is not just the story of a prison, it's a microcosm of the American criminal justice system, deeply flawed and in need of reform. We must ask hard questions about punishment, endurance, and the world we want. Is our justice system to punish or rehabilitate, to break spirits or help find redemption? These questions are crucial for a just society. The U.S. has the highest incarceration rate, over 2 million people behind bars. The cost is staggering, both financially and humanly. We must prioritize rehabilitation over retribution. There are glimmers of hope. Section 9. Echoes in the Darkness. As the sun sets on Pelican Bay, casting long shadows across the desolate landscape, the cries of the inmates echo through the cold, sterile corridors. Their voices, muffled by concrete and steel, are a haunting reminder of the human cost of our broken justice system. Pelican Bay is more than just a prison. It's a symbol of our collective failure to address the root causes of crime, our willingness to resort to brutality and isolation in the name of justice, and our capacity for both cruelty and compassion. The fight for reform is an uphill battle, fraught with political obstacles and deeply ingrained societal biases. But it is a fight worth fighting, for it is a fight for the very soul of our nation. We must find the courage to confront the dark reality of places like Pelican Bay, to listen to the voices of the forgotten, and to demand a more just and compassionate approach to criminal justice.